From Visgrad24 on X, the European Commission today launched the European Democracy Shield. It's presented as a project to protect EU democracies from disinformation, foreign interference, and information manipulation. Key elements include securing the information space, strengthening elections and media. Yeah, this post went viral today because, as you might expect, it went down like a lead balloon. The teeming masses are not as stupid as the woke psychopaths, right? And they know that for the last 10 years, aggressively, basically since Brexit and Trump, I think that's the exact date when the world went completely mad. But certainly for the last 10 years, nothing the governments of Europe, or indeed the entire Western world, have said is true. They lie to you all the time, every minute of every day. They only give you one side of every story. And if you disagree with the official narrative, you instantly get labelled as misinformation. And again, we are replete with recent examples. 80% of the stuff they say about Trump, where they just quote mine him or lie by omission, as we recently seen on the BBC, nearly everything they said about the pandemic, and all of the draconian measures, the lies they told to try and get people to buy what they were selling, it's preposterous. So if you think this is going to be used to protect democracy and not stomp on the windpipe of anybody who wants to be free, you are living in cloud cuckoo land. Anyway, I'll briefly play you Ursula von der Scheisseporn's ridiculous, ripped straight from Big Brother in 1984 speech here. And then I'm going to read you something behind the paywall on the Telegraph, because sadly, if you think this is going to be restricted to the European Union that we never really left, you've got another thing coming. Yeah, wait till you watch the speech. She is the spiritual successor of the one bollocked Austrian painter. In fact, I bet if she drops her knickers, she's only got one piss flap. Right, let's get into this. Let's see what Ursula's got for us.
La démocratie est notre trésor commun. Très longtemps, nous l'avons considéré comme acquis. Mais aujourd'hui, nos démocraties sont menacées. L'Union a besoin de sa propre structure dédiée à la lutte contre les manipulations de l'information et des ingérences étrangères, un bouclier européen de la démocratie.
Did you get all that? Good, that, wasn't it? You know what that reminded me of? Quite an old quote I'm sure you've heard before. The louder he talked of his honour, the faster we counted our spoons. You've heard that one before, right? Ralph Emerson said that. He was an American essayist. And it basically means, I mean, you know what it means. Anyone who constantly talks about how honest and decent they are is probably a lying, thieving, no good, probably a diddler in this day and age. You've all seen it. All the people who talk loudly about I'm with her and wear a pink pussy hat and go on all the women's marches, they're the ones who get caught with 3 teenage girls chained to the radiator in the basement. I mean, it's unbelievable. That's why politicians talk about how noble and honest they are all the time. So when von der Scheisseporn and Verhofstadt talk about how noble and honest and decent they are, you know it's because they are the worst of us. They are human trash. Ursula is an old school authoritarian. She didn't get elected, and she never will. So when they talk about protecting democracy, just as you've seen with Trump, I mean, I'm amazed that the whole world doesn't see things my way. I'm genuinely astounded. The evidence is insurmountable. That's all they do. They lie all the time, and they call anyone who disagrees with them foreign or a Russian bot. So when they talk about protecting democracy, they mean stealing democracy and crushing you beneath their iron boots. And when they talk about foreign disinformation, they mean boring everyday citizens like me will say things like, maybe you shouldn't be inviting in known killers, stone cold killers from Africa and the Middle East, unvetted fighting age men who've been in terrorist organisations because they might kill or finger women and kids. They'll go, oh, he's just a Russian bot. He's just a Russian bot, so we have to crush him. We have to send the jackbooted Rozzers round to fold him up like a deck chair, then lock him in a cellar under a dingy police station in Brussels or Berlin or wherever they decide to do it, and then burn the soles of your feet with an iron bar for democracy, to protect democracy. It's ludicrous on the face of it. So anyway, rant over, let's read that Telegraph piece I wanted to tell you about. Because if you think this is only happening in Europe, yeah, you're in bother, lads. How Britain became a surveillance state. With one camera for every 10 people and facial recognition on the rise, Big Brother has the nation firmly in its sights. No, in its grip. In its grip. And at what cost? I can't believe there's a camera for every 10 people. That is unbelievable. When Orwell wrote 1984, I don't even think there was a camera for every 10 people on Airstrip 1, was there? A camera for every 10 people. Everything you've ever seen about dystopian futures has already come true. In the aftermath of the horrific knife attack on the Doncaster to London train earlier this month, there were understandable calls for security to be increased on British rail networks. You know the drill. Problem, reaction, solution, right? They love it. They love a tragedy. Never let one go to waste. That is the mantra of the scum that lord it over you. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said the government would be investing in improved CCTV at stations because there's not enough CCTV cameras in the UK, and pointed towards the launch of a consultation on more facial recognition technology. Brilliant. All of this seems like eminently sensible proposals. No, it doesn't. But in the rush to record everything we do, isn't it worth pausing to ask whether the proliferation of cameras is actually increasing security? Yeah, it is worth pausing. It's worth pausing, pulling all the CCTV cameras and getting to the root cause of the problem, which is detaining and deporting millions and millions of violent, angry foreign men. There's your root cause of your problems, lads. Didn't get people stabbing up little girls' dance classes in the 1980s or the 1970s, did you? Whatever was the difference. Very odd, isn't it? We had less CCTV cameras and less little girls getting murdered. I wish I could put my finger on what the real problem was here. Recent research estimates there's nearly 1 million private and publicly owned CCTV cameras in London alone. That's one camera for every 10 people, or 1,500 every square mile. The UK has become one of the most watched countries per capita on Earth, and ironically, most of our cameras are made by Chinese companies. Yeah, way worse than the Chinese. 13,000 arrests last year for tweets. I think China only did about 4, didn't they? If you contacted Chairman Mao via Ouija board and asked him who his favourite world leader was, he'd be like, oh, I Rakesh Dama, I love androgynous android. With the rollout of police facial recognition cameras taken a step further, 10 live facial recognition vans have been deployed. This is unbelievable. Driving around the streets, using their malign technologies to survey you. Again, I mean, I don't like littering or not picking up your dog shit, but if you do it, I don't expect you to be getting scolded loudly via digital megaphone, Stephen Hawking shouting at you, pick up your dog shit, the second you do it, because there's robot vans watching you. Who wants to live in a country like this? Are you mental? This guy's sugarcoating it, isn't he? Oh, it sounds like a good idea on the face. It doesn't sound like a good idea on the face of it, you thick twat. Christ almighty. I keep using quotes because it's wisdom from the ages, isn't it? Like I said, that's why I like old adages. If it became an adage, it's a thing because it's true. If you make one up and it's stupid, nobody uses it. And you know what I'm going to say now, don't you? Those who would give up liberty in order to obtain some temporary safety deserve neither. That was Benjamin Franklin. It was true then, it's true now. And if you disagree, I'm sorry to inform you, you are Terry F***wit incarnate. There's then a list of the areas with the most CCTV. Obviously, Middlesbrough's second on there, because Middlesbrough's now 80% Iraqis. I walked through the town last year with my missus. We walked the entire length from the train station all the way to my mate's house in Martin. It's about 3 miles, and I'm not exaggerating. 80% of the people we seen were foreigners, and the 20% that were white, at least 10% of them were smackheads. So it's not going well in the borough. But who wants to live like this? 651. I can't believe it's that high. I've always knew Cleveland Police was the most bent coppers you'll ever meet on God's green earth, but I didn't expect to see Borough above Camden and Hammersmith. That's unbelievable. Although, they pulled me over for having one headlight out on my car. And 20 minutes later, they had electrodes wired to my testicles and they were beating me senseless with truncheons and telephone directories. So I should have guessed. I should have knew what I was in for. A leafy corner of South Manchester might seem a world away from the Louvre, but it tells its own story about how attitudes to CCTV have shifted. Oh yeah, this is unbelievable. Again, this is the turkeys voting for Christmas. When we set up the Friends of Didsbury Park, the area was a bit of a mess and there was a lot of vandalism. So 20 years ago, we had a discussion about CCTV. A lot of members were against it because of fears of intrusion. But Simcock worked with Didsbury Good Neighbours after some vandalism and they got a grant for CCTV cameras, and there you go, says Richardson, showing a man with his dog battling the elements on a stormy Manchester day. We can see him walk into the park. Now, I'm not going to do anything with that footage, of course, but if there was some activity which became suspicious, I would contact our local PCSO. Brilliant. I'm not going to do anything with that footage, of course. No, not of course. Not of course. We know who leads us. I would expect you to be using that footage for whatever perverse activities you're up to. If it was two 10-year-olds playing on the swings, he'd probably take the footage home to put on his laptop and lube up. Yeah, and then next thing he'll take it to PC World and he can go in the same cell as Gary Glitter. The default response to any concerns about crime seems to be stick a camera on it. Brilliant. One of the reasons there was such an explosion was because the technology changed. What we were able to offer with cameras that didn't need lines to feed images back and operated via mobile phone networks. That was a game changer. And now we're developing cloud-based systems that can overlay multiple devices with behavioural analytics, loitering detection, and so on. And so on. Yeah. And pretty soon you won't be able to drop your guts in public without a cyborg copper leaping from the bushes and then stapling a ticket to your shit locker. It's unbelievable. Then you've just got paragraphs of, everyone singing his praises, followed by a little bit of dissent from Big Brother Watch. And then at the end, they finish with, we've noticed a drop in antisocial behaviour and criminal activity. Far from being divisive, I think these cameras have helped bring our community together even more. Marvellous. Marvellous. And there we have it. I mean, that's an apt thing to leave on, isn't it? A little eye with a camera winking at me. Because Britain's a surveillance state. That's what it is. I honestly think that's why they do it. I think they're letting so many foreign criminal men because they can handle a couple of thousand extra murders a year, but they love the fact that now the sheeple are all on board with getting spied on all the time, every day. Again, problem, reaction, solution. Actually, that's starting to annoy me now. There we go. Ikey was right. Ikey was right. What I'd tell you is that you should resist all use of CCTV cameras. If you ever are in any way consulted on the issue, you won't be, because they don't give a single shite what the unwashed scum like you think. But that's why they're doing it. That's why they've invited 10 million angry men in. So you'll get right behind the idea of them spying on you every second of every day. And the whole thing about, if you haven't done anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about, is for the birds, to quote Nigel Farage. It's for the birds. Find me the man and I'll find you the crime. I like that one a lot more. And the irony is, they go soft on people who do actual crimes that are foreign. Kiddie fiddlers, surprise sex enthusiasts, stabbers. They all get let off. They get a slap on the wrist. But they use cameras like this to find people like Sam Mellier, who put a politely worded sticker on a lamppost and then got 3 years into clink for it. So that's what they're using these cameras for. Don't let them delude you. They could stop all of the more major crimes in an instant with the stroke of a pen by rounding up the millions and millions and millions of shitbags that have the run of the streets and getting rid of them. But they like them where they are, so you will be terrified and you'll sign off on more and more and more cameras. It's ludicrous. There's cameras everywhere in Middlesbrough, and need I remind you, this happened there in 2021. Bloke was taking his dog for a walk. Next thing, Tyrone Bongo is bouncing on his bongo. So it's not working, is it? It's not working. If I'm still going to get rogered like a copper's radio when I'm walking my dog by a random African fella, I'm sorry. Get rid of the cameras. They're no good to man nor beast, are they? Cameras all over the place. I've still got an arsehole like the top end of a welly, and Mr. Bongo's only going to get like a 2-year suspended sentence anyway. So bin the cameras, and I'll just go back to the good old-fashioned way of doing things, getting lots of big, scary ex-commando bobbies on the beat and going out wearing cast iron underpants. All right? That's me for the day, ladies and gentlemen. If you disagree and you think cameras are amazing, let me know in the comments. Just know that PC bastard is probably fapping himself senseless watching the footage he's got of your kids while they're getting changed. All right? Thanks for tuning in. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.